Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Jay here with Faith Evolved, checking in from Birmingham, Alabama. Just went to Furnace Fest yesterday, and I was actually here to purchased my tickets mostly to see Extol. Unfortunately, they had to drop out because the United States couldn't get their act together and get their visas in time. So that was definitely a bummer, but I was able to see Becoming the Archetype and a few other bands that I, wasn't sure if I would like them, but they ended up turning out to be pretty good, like Turnstile and Enter Shikari or something like that. I'm probably totally butchering that. But Ska was not too bad. And got to see a little bit of Living Sacrifice. And it was one other band, Mind Force, pretty dang good thrash punk hardcore band. So yeah, today is Sunday, and I'm just enjoying some hiking here at the Vulcan Trail here in South Birmingham. And it's the Vulcan Center. Apropos for this channel, as I was talking about aliens recently. Wouldn't it be great for first contact? Wouldn't it be great if Spock just showed up? Anywho, this is my first video using my iPhone 15 Pro Max. Got a 4K, 60 hertz, doing pretty dang good. Quality is definitely top notch at this point for iPhones. And maybe I'll do a ProRes video at some point. So I know I've said in the past that I was only going to do videos when I felt inspired to, and I'm trying to break out of that mindset. And I've been trying this new medication, bupropion, aka Wellbutrin. So far, no side effects. This is I think day 5, so I'm pretty psyched about that. And I'm not noticing a massive change yet, or any kind of even a subtle change yet. Maybe very subtle, but we'll see how things go. I'm going to do. This is not really meant to be a video update about that, but just letting you guys know that I'm not experiencing any terrible side effects, thank God. So, and sorry for the squinting of my eyes. It is bright out here. It's hot down here in Alabama. So one thing I did when I was at Furnace Fest is I actually had a bunch of merch tables, selling merchandise like t-shirts and, hats and stuff like that, stickers, vinyl, CDs, all that stuff. But there was one table there called Baked Brothers, and they were selling Delta 8 edibles and P-rolls, and they also had HHC, I think it's called. I might have those exact initials wrong, but it's like I guess a type of cannabinoid or something like that. I totally can't pronounce that word. But yeah, I think I took a little bit too much. So at some point in the late afternoon, I think I had taken a little bit over 25 milligrams, maybe around 30 milligrams of HHC. And of course, I started getting that kind of like anxious feeling, and it got to the point of an anxiety attack. I had to sit down and go up and down my legs and my hands, just kind of rubbing myself, soothing myself, pacing around, walking around as the bands were playing. And the music actually wasn't making it more, thankfully it wasn't making it worse. It wasn't hyping me up too much. It was a good distraction. There was people everywhere, and definitely felt safe, which is good. But apparently my body just doesn't like that feeling of being high, like this, I don't know if high is the right word, but this amped up feeling, that buzzy feeling, that kind of like in my head, in my face, that kind of rush, like lightheadedness. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's not a very pleasant sensation. So, and I would say the worst part was definitely my thoughts. I do feel like a lot of times that when I'm consuming cannabis products, usually Delta 8, definitely, Delta 9, and, I had other ones too, but this is my first time taking HHC, and, it's uncontrollable, just thoughts that hit me and seem to link to my emotions and then play upon them, and just create this vicious cycle of just existential thoughts and trying to figure out my existence and, what the ultimate is. Like if like, for example, here's one thought that I was having was, if we're living in duality and good and bad are all one in the ultimate absolute reality, this is just an illusion of separation, then how would I really know what love is? How do I really know what the ultimate experience is going to be? Is it going to be a third option, like the combination of good and bad is even better than good and bad? Like this stuff like that, and just questioning, if something's wrong with me, like why can't I enjoy, positive emotions, and why can't I, experience peace and bliss like everybody else, especially the other folks that are taking these supplements and and smoking them. There was a bunch of people there smoking and vaping, And I was actually kind of surprised they allowed it. But yeah, it was definitely frustrating to see everybody else, mostly when I was in that moment, about an hour and a half, I would say, of feeling that anxiety attack. And just like, man, is there something wrong with me? Am I just unable to? Is there something wrong? Is there like something intrinsically wrong with me that I don't allow myself? And why? It's my choice, right? I thought I could choose, to feel happy. I can choose to feel bad. Why am I choosing to feel bad? And of course I knew, as I was thinking about it, like, I always had my wits about me. I always had my mind. It was always there, sometimes thinking incorrectly, so I was reminded of Jesus saying, choose again, from A Course in Miracles. And it's like, I realized that these feelings that come over me for some reason trigger my emotions, which somehow trigger some kind of subconscious feeling of I'm feeling bad because something is wrong, or I'm guilty. I'm feeling ashamed or something, or defective for some reason. It's like somehow this is chain reaction of the sensation in my body to the thoughts, to the emotion, and then finally to the sense of being completely separated and cut off and stuck in this state of just feeling like overwhelmed that I can't feel joy and love and peace. So that's kind of like that's probably the best way I've ever put it. Yeah, so it's like a chain reaction, and it feels like it starts chemically for some reason, because I guess we are chemical beings, so it does kind of make sense. So the one thing that I could say going through that whole, panic attack, anxiety attack experience is that I always had my will. I always had my ability to choose a thought if I wanted to. The drug, or whatever you want to call it, didn't control my mind. It didn't force me to stay stuck on a particular thought. Yeah, it would certainly invoke certain thoughts and emotions in me, and I felt like I couldn't escape that, and trying to escape it would make it worse. So I had to learn how to just accept it. I walked over to the first aid area and asked if I could, please get something for anxiety. They didn't have anything, so they said just sit down here in the chair and just breathe, focus on your breathing. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I know it's going to work. And I always thought, even though I was feeling that anxiety, I knew it was not going to last forever. I know it was going to end. I felt this before. I know I wasn't going to die. I wasn't going to have to go to the ER or anything like that. I just had to ride it out, like everybody else who has had this experience in the past as well. And, so I knew it was going to eventually end at some point. I knew it wasn't going to have to go home and this Turnstile and some other, bands that were playing. And after about an hour and a half, I did start feeling better. And I did get to enjoy that band, and I'm glad I stayed. But I would say the one thing that, that I could tell anybody else that's going through this experience and having all the existential what-if questions about ultimate reality and their existence and why they exist and all this stuff, like all those onslaught of existential questions, in the end, you always have your will. And then I finally got it when I think it was A Course in Miracles, or maybe it was A Course on Love, or maybe even Urantia book, or maybe all three. There's some version of this, but and I think it is actually mentioned in all three of those texts. Oh, also A Course, Conversations with God. It's in there as well. I think it's pretty much, if you think about it, pretty much everything, every spiritual text that you read comes to the same point of, God's will for you is your will. And what that means is not that you do whatever you want, apart from God, like you don't need God, or that, you lie to yourself and say that, choosing negativity or choosing hatred or fear is God's will somehow, that you should suffer that. I think that's where a lot of religions go wrong. But that God's will for you is that you have His will. The power to choose, power to create. And I realize that because I have that power, no matter what kind of thoughts come my way, the fact that I exist and the fact that I can choose, that is literally God. Like, that is the part of me that is God, with that ability. And that could never be taken away from me, no matter what thoughts, no matter what circumstances happen, no matter if all earthly things should crash, as Jesus said. That as long as I'm aware, and I've always been aware that I've been aware, even though sometimes I feel less alive than others, that's for sure. But I've always had my mind. I've always been able to think. I've always been able to choose between differing thoughts. And that is literally God's will, that I should be able to do that and realize that I create my own reality. And that I should just trust that in the end, no matter what happens, That is, as long as, you know, again, this is, of course, the part of being human that you don't really know. Like, as long as I have my awareness, as long as I'm conscious, I have a choice to choose something. I'm not stuck with an experience just because something outside of me demands it or decrees it. It's me that ultimately decides to decrease it. I am now currently walking on the Vulcan Trail here in Birmingham. Pretty beautiful, nice day, mostly sunny and about mid-80s. So anyways, yeah. So what it comes down to is I just need to trust and let go of trying to figure out how things are going to work, because that's what starts these problems to begin with, is trying to figure it out. Like, I have to come to the answer on my own, you know? And even though, yes, I do have a choice, and it's my own choice that God has given me, there's also a part that we've all agreed on, which is we're all a part of God, and we come here to experience this, you know, contrast, this duality, this feeling of separation even. But it's not, we're basically, I think this is how the Conversations with God puts it, is this is, you know, we come here to experience what we are not, and we are not separate. We are not hopeless. We are not confused. We are not in darkness. We are already awake and totally perfect and in God's presence and even a part of God. And that's the part that I need to accept for myself and allow myself to feel love, peace, and joy again. Because it's not being kept from me. If anything, I'd be keeping it for myself somehow. I had just forgotten that. So as I said, we come here to experience what we are not. And I think it's so that we can actually appreciate and truly experience what we are as we evolve, as we grow. All right, folks, thanks for watching. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this trail here. And if it's your first time here, thank you for joining. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and click the notification bell so you can be notified anytime I release any new videos. Thanks, and God bless.